Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, they're boxing June 1st. And it's funny, they're calling this the Baddest Tour. It's a reference to the BMF belt. Obviously, they can't say BMF because that's trademarked by the UFC. And to be honest, no one's calling anybody but Max Holloway the BMF for the next year at least. Max Holloway for all of 2024 is the BMF. But these are a couple GOATs, couple legends. I mean, I'm from the 209. If you don't know, now you know. Stockton, California. I've ran into Nate Diaz a couple times, ran into Nick Diaz once, run into Chris Avila like all the time. I don't know. He's probably dating a chick around the corner from me because we run into each other at the corner store all the time. And I'm not like the type of guy I try to play it cool, like, oh, what's up, Chris? Show him some love, but I don't ask for a picture. I got a picture of Nick Diaz, but that's about it. I saw Nate Diaz right after he fought Rafael dos Anjos, when Rafael dos Anjos just kicked the shit out of his leg over and over again. And I ran into him at the Stockton Mall, and he was on crutches, and I just didn't have it in me to go up and ask for a picture with him, even though, I mean, everyone from Stockton's a fan of the Diaz brothers. How could you not? I mean, they put Stockton on the map. Stockton's not a great place. If you don't know about Stockton, it's just, I think it's the most dangerous place to live in the United States. I might be wrong about that. Look it up, but as of recently, it's gone completely downhill, and that's all right. It's still beautiful to me, but there's shootings left and right. I need to stop following 209 times because it is getting dark. But let's go ahead and start this up.
Preliminary bout Saturday, June 1st, an MMA veteran of 17 fights across UFC, Bellator MMA, but since making the transition full-time to pro boxing, 5-1, riding a 5-fight win streak. From the 209, put your hands together once more for Chris Avila.
He's been doing his thing in boxing. Just beat Jeremy Stephens. Imagine that. Jeremy Stephens was knocking out MFers cold. I mean, if the BMF belt was around earlier, he might have been in one of those fights because he was putting on wars and he had that knockout power. And Chris Avila beat him in boxing, and he looked good. He looked really good. So I've been having a fun time watching Chris Avila's transition into boxing, because when Chris Avila first got his limelight, when Nate Diaz fought Conor McGregor the second time, I think it was, Chris Avila fought Artem Lobov, and it was not good. And it was unfortunate because I was happy for him to get his time in the spotlight, but that fight did not go good. So it's good to see him whooping ass recently. He beat Dr. Mike, which that fight was, I don't even know why they made that fight. That was an embarrassment. I like Dr. Mike. I think he's putting out a lot of good information on YouTube while also doing the influencer thing. But to step in there with a true fighter, someone who was raised in the streets and he fights that's his job. You know what I mean? Doctor should not be stepping in with an actual fighter. So yeah, that fight went exactly how it should have went. But Chris Avila's been making his mark. And yeah, I'm excited for this one too. Anthony Pettis, another legend. This is an exciting one for me. I'm just as excited for that fight as I am for the main event. So
the UFC's Ultimate Fighter.
East Coast versus West Coast.
A man who has made you know where 209 is and what it's all about. You want awards? How about 8 Fight of the Night honors? How about 5 Submission of the Night honors? He might be indica on the microphone, but when it's time to throw down, he's sativa for days. You better believe that. The 5th most strikes landed in UFC history. Nate Diaz. Nate, do you feel like the favorite or the underdog in this matchup?
I feel like I don't give a fuck. Either way, it's going me.
Think he's taking you seriously?
That's on him, man. We already fought, and he knows what I bring. I bring speed, power, and I'm not a fucking nice guy, you know? I'm not any of these guys. You shut your ass up when I'm talking, bitch. I'm gonna bring the heat like always, man. All these motherfuckers talk wild when you got 25 security guards separating us, man. See me outside, bitch. See me outside.
All right, Jorge Masvidal I think he just loves talking trash to everyone. I mean, A lot of fighters just ignore the crowd, but he's just having a good time. He likes just that smack talk, right? Nate Diaz, it's almost like the gold little nuggets we get out of him are like pulled out of him. He never like comes with it. Where Masvidal almost comes with like this energy, and he puts it all on the line, and he puts a lot out there. So it's interesting. I wish Nate Diaz would open up a little bit more. I'm kind of interested in seeing where he's at. I mean, in the every fight he's lost, the Jake Paul fight, the first time he fought Masvidal, he doesn't get beat. He just runs out of time, and he always looks good towards the end of the fights. Like the boxing match versus Jake Paul, a lot of people said he looked ugly. It's like what I remember, and I had a few beers, so you know. Hey, brother, it was pretty close, and Nate was coming back towards the end of that fight, really putting it on Jake, and Jake was getting tired. So, like, Nate did not get beat. He ran out of time. Yes, he got knocked down, but, dude, Jake's a bigger dude on steroids, yada, yada, yada. Masvidal in that first fight, same thing. The ref stopped it because of the cut. The Diaz brothers always get cut. That's just their bone structure. They get cut all the time. They get cut in every fight. It's like they've even made jokes that, like, they get hit by a strong breeze and they get cut. Unfortunately, that's just like their bone structure. So that first fight, because a lot of the cuts, the bleeding, it looked like Nate was getting beat up worse than he was. In my opinion, he did get. There was a couple pretty brutal rounds, but you know, this is boxing, a whole different thing. He can't get caught by a knee or a head kick like he did in their UFC fight. And in that UFC fight, it looked like Nate was coming on towards the end. I rewatched that fight. Not super recently, but I remember him looking like he got his ass whooped when I watched it live, and I was kind of disappointed. And when I rewatched it, I'm like, oh, he actually looked like he was starting to come back on towards the end. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional. I definitely have a bias. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt when it comes towards my Stockton brethren. You know what I mean? But let's get back into this.
It was a fun tour, going out here and all this shit, all over fucking USA, and I'm done with all this shit. I'm cool off all this fucking talking shit. I got a whole team to represent. I don't want to do none of this. I never did want to do any of it. Fuck this nigga and fuck his team, bro.
Damn,
I'm
what?
out. I gotta go.
We got one of these. Wow.
Square up with yourself, motherfucker.
What?
Just show up to the fight, man. That's it. Just show up to the fight, man.